Hey, welcome back to the More in Common podcast. Hopefully you had a good couple days to check out the episode with Graham, to listen to part 1 of Lincoln Hoppe. And if you haven't listened to part 1, it gives a lot of context for part 2. So go check that out. And if you like us, leave us a like, leave us a comment, hit us up. Let's promote this message of compassion. On to part 2.
I wanted to go into that play thing. I'm glad you just said that, Keith.
Hey, I'm here for you.
But Lincoln, I'm an adult. Adults don't play. What does play do for you? And like, maybe what do you mean by play when you say play for improv, and what does it do? What has it done for you? Or what does it do for you?
Play keeps us healthy. It really does. I can go into a dark case study if you want. I guess we can get it out.
Let's darken this conversation up real quick.
So, it's really dark. But after there was that first mass shooting in the 70s, I believe it was, where a guy climbed a bell tower and basically just shot a bunch of people. Well, it was the first one in U.S. history. It was the biggest one, and what the government or whoever it was did was they hired a whole bunch of experts in every single field to say, why did this happen? How can we stop this from happening? And I'm so sorry, I can't remember where I originally read about the study because I, again, read it in another book. And it may have been Free Play by Stephen Nachmanovich, but which is a great book on improv, by the way. The one thing that every single discipline found was that this individual and other people who are often considered psychopaths were not given healthy play. They were not able to play. Like their parents made them do chores and then stand in the corner. Those kinds of things. They didn't have other people to play with. But that healthy play was the one thing that kept coming up in every discipline studied when they did this study. So I really believe that play is such an essential part of our daily health. And play is such a broad term, like you said, Rodney. It could mean anything. It could mean playing a game on your phone. It could mean playing tag with your child friends if you're a kid. It could mean playing Dungeons and Dragons. It could mean playing a board game. It could mean sitting around the table telling stories, trying to one-up each other. It could mean any number of these things. Just social games that you wouldn't think are games, but just like having a conversation, even flirting type of games. All these type of games, we're social animals, and so playing together and not always being just so business-like is really important. I'm sounding really eloquent right now by saying not being so business-like, but I think you guys know what I mean.
Sound good to me.
Letting the brain decompress, even when. So I just took a memory course, and one of the interesting principles about memory is you have to make spaced repetition. So you memorize, and then it's essential to stop memorizing and do something completely different so that your brain can kind of sort out everything. And I kind of feel like that's what play is. That's the relationship of play with work, is that you have to work, if that's your job, and then you got to step away and you got to be social, which is can be a type of play. You work, step away, play the guitar for a little bit, or do something that is that can be gamified, or that is like a game to you, or just keeps you healthy in that way. So yeah, play is, again, it's a big, wide term, but really, I think I would describe it. What makes you able to decompress around other people? and take a look at that and see. And you can do it by yourself too. You can play games, improv games even, that let your brain decompress. So whatever it is for you. And some people don't have enough hobbies. Some people need to find a hobby, which may be painting or anything in the arts is a form of play as well.
There's this gym I went to for a little bit in Santa Monica. I probably should go back. Fridays, there was this class and it was movement play. And I was like, what is this? I'm just going to go. And so there's a whole like workout methodology around this, but it's like getting on all fours and moving like a gorilla, or crawling like a bear, or doing somersaults, or front flips, aerials, or building a obstacle course and jumping on and making different challenges for yourself and how you're approaching the obstacle course. And I immediately, my first thing was like, this is silly. I had that thought. And then as soon as I did it, I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. It reminds me of being a kid. And I just had fun. And I was working out. Like at the end, I was more sore and tired than I had been from lifting weights for an hour. But it was fun. And so we did that every week. And it kind of, it let me decompress from the week of working out and the week of everything else. To your point of decompressing, it's I felt it in that. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's great. A great piece of advice that I heard too was, because I'm a guitar player, and I took a video course. I can't remember what the name of the teacher was, but she said, every time you pick up the guitar, before you play, before you practice, make a new sound out of that guitar that you have never made. And after a few days, it was like, oh my gosh, what can I do? And you might stick your finger through the sound hole and go click, 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 make sounds on the inside, or you may try, hitting the back of the neck to make sound, or, using your pick in a different way. Just doing those different things, play in that way, just like with what you were saying, Rodney, about your movement player, the exercise play class. It opens up your creativity. And that opens up a part in your brain that just needs to be used and exercised. And I think a lot of people don't use and exercise it enough, that those creative things. And that's play really grabs onto that.
I would agree. I like that guitar visual. Like, here's a guitar. This is how you play it. You end up confined to the standards of it. But when you open up that creativity to flick the back of the neck back, all of a sudden it's like, oh, there is just so much more potential in this. And you may play it standard way and create, but you understand the full potential of sound that comes from this. And only way you do that is just by being silly and dumb and doing things that the structured frameworks don't tell you
shouldn't do.
Yeah, that you're not supposed to do. So I'm curious so you went to BYU, and I think you said something earlier, and but you weren't an actor until you did improv.
That's correct.
You started acting at BYU, or what was it? What were you before improv? So where did you grow up in Idaho?
No, I grew up in New Jersey.
Oh,
so
okay.
In southern New Jersey. Yeah, I was born in Chicago and then moved to southern New Jersey, and went out to BYU in Utah for
for
school.
Utah. Sorry, why didn't I say?
Yeah, but yeah, I was I didn't know what I wanted to do really. I started communications, so my degree is in communications, and I was going to be an advertising copywriter. I liked writing commercials and writing stuff, and that was the goal that I came up with, which was fun. It was fun, but when I found that love for acting, it changed everything. Yeah.
How did you find that love for acting?
So again, it came very much through. I auditioned for this improv troupe, and I loved that. I loved doing that. We did sketch. It was called the Garen's Comedy Troupe. We did sketch comedy as well as improv comedy. And I wanted to become a better actor. So I started taking acting classes and I started really liking that. So I started auditioning for student films, and then I started getting into student films. And then like I was in a student film that won an Emmy. It was called The Last Good War, which was directed by Ryan Little, who's a great, fantastic director, which turned out into, like, I think 15 years later, we made a feature film together called Saints and Soldiers Airborne Creed, which was based on the short. But when I started doing movies like that had a real depth to them, a real a value, what I felt was a value to society for people to watch and be inspired and to feel like they could be better people, or to feel some of their firm beliefs challenged or shaken just a little bit. I started to see like that I could become an instrument in helping people want to lead better lives. And that was really, for me, the thing that got me hooked. That and like a real truthful communication as an actor in a scene. Like there was something about being a fictional character, but still, and saying pre-rehearsed lines, but still having a true and spontaneous, meaningful moment with another character that came because we were, again, in this form of doing a scene that just fascinated me. Does that all make sense?
It does. I'm curious. So you said when I did, like, what made you start improv? Like, was it just something you were just like, we'll give
why
this
did
a
you
try?
sign up for the
Like,
troupe?
Yeah.
This
devious smile. This is a good story. Yeah.
He's like,
all right.
I asked the right
Here we
question.
go, guys. So this girl that I really liked,
Yes, it always
said,
comes
"Hey,
back.
come over. We're doing an improv party." And I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Improv? What's that?" And she's like, "Well, we make stuff up. Come over and find out." I was like, "Sure." So I show up and we basically play this game called freeze tag for 3 hours. And I was just like, this is crazy. This is like games for grown-ups. Like we're playing games that are making everyone laugh. It's good socially, it's good and all that. And I kid you not, the very next day, I was walking through the theater department of our at BYU, and I saw on the bulletin board this thing that said, "Comedy troupe starting, improv actors wanted," and it had those things where you pulled off the phone number. I was like, "Hey, I know what improv is. I've done that before. I might as well try." I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea, because I'd only done it once and I just played, and I showed up for the auditions a few days later, like just so excited and eager. And I brought that girl with me, and I brought another friend with me. And we ended up all getting in, I think, because not a lot of people showed up.
Yeah. Hey,
But
opportunity is opportunity.
That's the story. It was a girl. It was because of a girl. And
isn't it always?
What a fun journey that sent me on.
Wow.
For sure.
Motivation is important. No, that's cool.
I think I think there's interesting depth to go a step further on this. So I've had moments like that where I'm just like pure joy and you do it, but because of certain social expectations that I was either raised with or ingrained in, not a chance I would have attributed that to anything meaningful, right? Other than I'm just being silly and having a good time. Yet you saw this and said, hey, let's go do more with it. Like, was it just happenstance because you saw that, but what was it that caused you to pull that chat off versus going, oh, that's a cool thing. I've only done it one time, so I'm not really that person, but oh, that's neat.
Great question. I think a lot of it was that I mean, I'm a pretty, by nature, pretty shy, introverted person. And there was something in doing that improv of kind of dropping all that and letting freedom, freedom of not having fear of looking like an idiot, or not having that fear of looking stupid, that really, really grabbed me. And in conjunction with that, like just using a part of myself I wasn't using at all, that I think was like, I like this. I really like this. And just to find that there was this whole side of me that I didn't know was there, that had a love for playing this kind of game almost instantly. Besides, there's always nerves, like we talked about earlier. I was terrified. If that girl hadn't been there, I would not have gotten up and done it. If I wasn't there to impress her in some certain way, I would not have gotten over that inertia of, no, 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 this is nerve wracking. But because of those circumstances, because I pushed myself, because of that, I found this freedom and love for part of this creative brain I didn't know was there. And I think that probably set me on a point of no return.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good story, to have that origin story. I really like it.
Are you, in general, I guess to that point, so the next day, so the pulling of that part, that it kind of back to what Keith was saying, like that moment of pulling that with other things in your life that you felt attached to or attracted to or interested in, were you as likely to go towards them even if you didn't know what it was, or was that a rare event to that point in your life?
It was a rare event. It was for sure a rare event. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't accustomed to putting myself out there in social ways that weren't more in the shadows. And so that was a very different thing for me. But since then, it's been easier to do, because I've experienced that. Sometimes those first steps into the darkness or that unknown can really spark amazing things for the rest of your life. And not only that, but also an instant sense of adventure and sense of novelty that in some ways can be worth pursuing on its own, which I wasn't like that before. But now I'm like, I try to force myself to get past some of that shyness, to try new things because of the adventure, which is really quite fun. I mean, that ties it almost metaphorically back into Dungeons and Dragons, right? Where there's an adventure to be had, and there's fun in that adventure. And sometimes just taking that first step is the adventure. And you don't have to take a second step if you don't want to. But short adventures are good too. There have been things where I've tried and been like, nope, that was. I'm glad I'm not sitting here wishing I had tried it, but I've tried it and it's not for me.
I wonder if it ties back into play a little bit too. I'm almost sensing this element of unknown with play, because you said it allows you to decompress, but I'm almost sensing this element of like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen throughout all of this. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, people fear the unknown. We all fear the unknown to one extent or another. But when you can make that unknown part of your process, or make the unknown your friend, it makes a lot of things easier. Most people, when we talk about improvisation, people are mostly the fears that we hear most is, what if I get up on stage and I don't know what to say? Or what happens if I'm in a scene and it's going badly and I don't know what to do? People are projecting into the future, into a scene that's never started. There's no scene, right? But their imagination is saying, what if I'm in this imaginary place and I don't know what to say? They're saying, what if I'm in an unknown and there's an unknown within that unknown?
And there's an unknown.
Right, exactly.
They're creating a problem in the thing that hasn't
what
begun,
we can
started.
create in our minds, right? I'm curious from how much, because like I hear that and I think about the emergence of conspiracy theory groups, the growth of them. One of the underlying themes is a belief that they have been alienated or judged in some negative way over time. And these groups are the first time that they get to say things that they've thought without judgment, without criticism. And in the improv space, we create these stories. Like, I'm going to go up there and it's going to be like me speaking in front of 100 people at work, and all of them are going to be whispering, what an idiot, what an asshole. But the community is designed such that it is non-judgmental to the performance, because improv is improv. It's not a quality, or it could be funny, it could be not funny, but to your point, funny is just this much sliver. You can improv a drama. And so it could be sad or not sad.
Exactly.
So how much does that community component play into the effectiveness of the response and the ability to just go up there the next time?
It's really important. It's really important when you're having a class or when you're rehearsing as a group, that there's a safe space to step into that unknown and be willing to make yourself into an idiot or look stupid, to take risks. And the fact that everyone else in that space needs to be on the same page and needs to say, hey, I'm going to step out. So I'm going to be here to catch you and completely honor your willingness to risk, because we're all taking this same risk. And when people are first learning improv, that mentality of yes-anding and supporting and just applauding everyone's courage to get on stage is a huge, huge and important part of the process. And I have taken some improv classes in some places. I've taken improv classes, so many different schools. And every school has something great to offer, but sometimes, the teacher is it's less safe of a place, and that's more appropriate the more advanced you get. The more further you get, the more you're not a improv baby anymore. Someone can say, you need to stop doing that, or you've got a bad habit, let's start working on that. When you're just starting out, that can be devastating, especially if it's not said tactfully and lovingly. But when it's said tactfully and lovingly, that's great. And so, that safe space is extremely important when starting out. And that's why it's important to work with a group in a class before you get up on stage in front of an audience, because that audience is not going to be on the same page as everyone. They're, especially if they're paying, they're like, hey, I paid for some entertainment. So you have to be careful too. And that's an important part of the process, is going from this safe space with this group or class to going to a less safe space, but it's still part of the job,
Right. There's Keith, I wonder if it ties back to that study with play on the shooting, the lack of potentially lack of ability to play or even share an idea about, I wonder if this happened because of this, and being shut down, and then turning that into
It's a lack
an
of support and a
amalgamation
bigger,
of,
and it's a bigger sense of
stories
judgment.
that, I'd be fascinated to look into that. That's an interesting thought. But yes, anding is huge for safety.
For the sake of time, because we have one final question we're going to get to here in a few minutes, but I need to pivot the conversation to, one, congratulate you on the early success of Witnesses. And this conversation, and maybe this is a root of a lot of other interviews that you'll do over time, but I'm curious. You went to BYU. You mentioned something earlier about the reminder, whether that is from above or not. And Witnesses is about a group of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I don't know all of the story.
It's actually not. It's not Jehovah's Witnesses. It's about early members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Of Latter-day Saints. Got it.
Yeah. So, but totally understand, because the word witnesses. Yeah.
So how?
But it is different.
But no, and that's fair. There seems to be, and I'm making an assertion, so correct me if I'm wrong, that religion in some form or fashion has played a role in your life. How much did that help you connect to this role within this movie?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I knew the history already. And then some of the other lead actors were not members. And so they had a different journey. They had a different path. But I definitely, plot-wise and historical figure-wise, I was already very connected. But because of principles taught in my church since I was young, I felt like I was, I've always been on a spiritual journey. And so there was always, I was always trying to connect to that, to that higher power to guide my performance, or to, that doesn't sound quite right, but to say, hey, here I am, if I can help tell this story better, let me know how. And then just diving in and kind of letting the moment and my training and my research on the part, as well as anything else that was available, to give a moving performance as much as I could. So it definitely played in, and it played a factor. But again, the other actors who weren't members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints did a phenomenal job as well. They played their parts quite well. So I think we do all approach things from different places, but it's always been, I've always tried to live by a set of principles that help me to be a better person, and help me to give other people the choice to be better people too. That's why I like acting, is that we can tell a story that inspires someone. And if they want to make better choices in their life, be nicer to so-and-so, or to, reconnect with an estranged relative, that's reminded of them through the story, then that's great. And that's amazing, as well as just kind of raising the consciousness of our society in general, I think is really important. And so I do think there's a higher calling to it. And it's not a religious based or a religious specific calling at all. But I do believe there's so much more than we can understand here. And if we allow ourselves to be guided by whatever you want to call it, the spirit or our intuition, or other people who are really smart, however that works in, I think it all puts us in a better position to move forward and make the world a better place.
Mm. I just want to ask real quick, having your basis in the church, what did having that role mean to you specifically? Like getting that role in that film, what does that mean to you?
Well, it was amazing because I played this character called Martin Harris, who's always, I mean, this was a guy who made some pretty big mistakes, and they're recorded for everyone in history to see. You know, he helped translate, and then lost these 116 pages, which were then had to be abandoned, and he kind of left the church for a while and then came back after a while. Like he's known almost more for his mistakes than for the good things he did, which was better. So diving back in and having to research him and learn more about him, I just learned he was just a beautiful, wonderful person. And I think it was kind of nice. People come up to me afterwards saying that they felt that my portrayal of him really humanized him and changed their view of him. So I kind of feel like I was perhaps instrumental in showing a different side of this man that's just kind of loving and human and fallible, but so well intentioned that was both a learning experience to me, but also hearing from other people who have seen the film who knew of this historical figure, Martin Harris, that they were moved by it as well. I'm a very, I don't know, sensitive, loving kind of person, and I think just by casting me in that role, it was going to tend to that more loving, sensitive side. So the director did half the job of just putting me in there, and that already afforded me the opportunity to play him in a very sensitive, loving kind of way. So it was really a wonderful experience for me to have more compassion for this person that I had thought mostly also of more of his mistakes than the good things he did. So it was really beautiful to experience him from that other angle.
That sentiment will tie very nicely into our final question as we wrap up. Before we ask it, I want to do something new that we should do all the time and haven't ever. Where can our audience find you?
Oh, yes. So so my name is Lincoln Hoppe, and it's spelled with 2 P's. And so most of my socials are at Lincoln Hoppe, again with 2 P's, Hoppe. And my website is lincolnhoppe.com. And my improv course with Eric Artell is called Improv Wizards. And that can be found at improvwizards.com.
And we'll make sure all of that is in the show notes as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you my Facebook too, because it's the only thing that's different. My Facebook page is Lincoln Actor. So if you type in Lincoln Actor on Facebook, that's my Facebook page. But all my other socials are Lincoln Hoppe. I have TikTok. I haven't posted much to it. I'm trying to get back into it. I do have like almost 500,000.
Yeah, you're balling on TikTok.
But I'm trying to get back into that. I got into it because of my kids. They thought it was really fun.
That's awesome.
So it's been kind of a fun experience.
I asked you our last question, but first I will say thank you because we're going to end with you. So I want to say thank you for the time. You're really thoughtful. Your caring and loving side, it exudes. I think I picked that up from just earlier conversations with you and other platforms. But
well, thank you.
I agree.
Just really appreciate your thoughtfulness and tying all this together for us.
I feel the same way. Just you guys opening up the space and having this goal of having deep conversations that again make the world a better place. I mean, it's beautiful and wonderful. So I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. So the last question is, what does compassion mean to you?
Compassion to me is sharing part of myself with someone else in a way that makes them better or helps them. I don't know that it's necessarily compassionate to just do something for someone that's easy to do. But when I'm sharing something of myself, and meeting someone else's authentic self, I think that's where, for me, compassion sings, or really takes on a new meaning. And I'm not trying to diminish other definitions of compassion, which is where you're doing something nice for someone who needs something. But I feel that deeper connection in a way that honors the other person from your true self is really coming at someone from a compassionate place. And listening too. I mean, we talked about listening with improv. If you're focused on yourself, you can't really listen as well to the other. You can't listen. And so it's knowing who you are, or coming to know who you are, so that you can share that with someone else in a way that can benefit them.